Welcome everyone to IVHQ's webinar, Everything Your Parents Want to Know About Volunteering Abroad. Thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here today. And firstly, my name is Jordan McFadden. I'm the Community Manager here at IVHQ, and today we've got Ben with us as well.
Hi everybody, my name is Ben Brown. I'm the Head of Risk and Sustainability here at IVHQ.
So this is going to be a really interesting little webinar. We're really looking forward to sharing this information that we've got with you here today. It is aimed towards parents of IVHQ volunteers, but in fact, anyone, if you were looking at volunteering, wanting to volunteer abroad, I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of this session that we're going to run today. If you've got questions or even a couple of little concerns about volunteering abroad, you want to know about IVHQ support, safety, insurance, or simply just looking for more information on IVHQ in general, hopefully we're going to answer most of your questions here today. Most of the questions that we've built this session on today have been submitted via social media, but also it's questions that we as a team get on a daily basis as well. Now, if you are watching live, you're more than welcome to try and submit a couple of questions. We are going to try get to a couple of questions at the end of the session, but we are trying to fit in a lot of information today, and we only do have a half an hour time gap as well. So we will try to get to as many questions as we can live. Otherwise, at the end of today's webinar, what you can do is you can actually submit your questions in the comments below. So if you're watching this on the pre-recorded version, submit a comment below and we'll get around to answering that as well. Otherwise, we also have a contact us page on our website, so just go to our website right along the end, along the top menu, you'll see a contact us page, and that's the best way of getting in touch if there is something that we didn't quite cover in today's session. Now we're going to kick off, firstly, the first point, and a question we get a lot is around the actual requirements of your son and daughter becoming an IVHQ volunteer. What are the requirements of becoming a volunteer?
Yep, so that's I guess a really good place to start, and I know that it's one of the key big questions that anyone considering volunteering for the first time is interested in asking. So I guess there's a few key things that we look for in an applicant, but a really simple place to start is that we have a requirement that everyone is over the age of 18 at the time when they're starting their program. That's a fairly simple starting point for us, and it's a requirement that we've always had. Everyone has a different level of travel experience. Yeah. People have been through, different types of travel abroad, and everyone's got a different experience level. But we feel like 18 is an age that we can apply across the board, and it's probably an age where people feel reasonably comfortable travelling independently.
Yeah,
so that's a starting point.
And saying that as well, if you do happen to be under the age of 18 or your son and daughter is under the age of 18, they can actually volunteer as part of a group. We've got a dedicated groups manager, Kirsty. Now, Kirsty and her team will look at catering to family groups, corporate groups, university groups, both faculty-led and student-led groups as well. So if you're interested in volunteering, you're not quite at the age of 18, then that could be a good option to look at. Otherwise, you can actually volunteer with your son and daughter. As a parent, you can actually volunteer with your son and daughter if they are under the age of 18, as long as you both are contributing to the same volunteer project, and essentially you're going to be travelling and being together the entire time, which is obviously what you do anyway when you're sharing this type of experience. So if your son and daughter is under the age of 18 and really wanting to do the trip, maybe as a parent, you should also have a bit of a look at our programs and the projects available, and maybe the two of you can actually come up with a bit of a solution and go travelling together. And how about travel insurance? I know that's another question that we get a lot, whether it's required, whether it's advised. What's your thoughts on travel insurance?
There are plenty of options available, and you can spend some time doing your research, and we would encourage that. But we do recommend one particular provider. They're called World Nomads, and they provide travel insurance which is really well tailored for the type of trips that our volunteers go on. They've worked with a lot of our volunteers in the past, and they understand what the requirements are. So we'd highly recommend them. Another great feature of the World Nomads service is they provide a 24-hour support service. Mm-hmm. So as part of that, you can have a contact that you can talk to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if you're concerned or if you need advice on where you can source medical attention, or where you can get other types of emergency support. So that's a great feature of having a policy with them. And every policy holder with World Nomads also gets emergency support in the event that something does happen. So if you need to get out of the country quickly because of a medical emergency, your insurance will step in and support you with that. So I encourage people to have a look at them and to have a look at some of the policies that they offer. But it's absolutely essential that you find the right policy for you. So do some thorough research and make sure you're getting the right insurance for the type of trip that you're going on.
Well, we're on the subject of spending money as well. We get asked a lot about the details on IVHQ fees and exactly what those fees do include. Now, the good thing is you've already found a really cheap provider. We provide really affordable volunteer programs that are trusted and also really safe at the same time. All the fees, though, are really different, and they're all based on the different country that you're going to. For example, fees in a place like Asia are going to be cheaper than if you're deciding to go volunteer in Europe, for example. It also all depends on how long you'd like to actually be a volunteer for, because obviously we have programs from about 1 week up to 24 weeks as well. All your fees are going to cover things like your accommodation, the meals, your airport pickup, which is obviously fantastic, your in-country 24/7 support, which is obviously really needed as well. But along with those fees, you're also then required to pay a standard IVHQ registration fee. Now this is $279 US, and what this does is this covers all your ongoing support from actual IVHQ staff. So all of us in the office and all the staff that you're going to be working with in preparing for your trip. And that includes things like your extensive info booklet that we've got. We've also got the interactive training, which is a fantastic tool for volunteers that we'll touch on a little bit more shortly as well. And also, obviously, just that support from our staff. We've travelled to these destinations. We know about the different cultures. We know about the different programs. A wealth of information with our team there as well. So if you have any questions about your program, those are the people to go speak to. All the details on where the money actually goes as well can be found underneath every lot of fees that we have on our website. You'll see there's a table that lists out all the different fee amounts and corresponding to how long you want to be volunteering. And underneath that, we'll show all the details of where your money is actually going in terms of what it's paying for when you do choose to volunteer with IVHQ. And now we're going to take a look at procedures on what support we have for safety of IVHQ volunteers, and this is obviously something that you deal with a lot.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is an area that I am responsible for at IVHQ, and an area that I spend a lot of time looking at. I know it'll be a topic that is pretty important for a lot of you on this webinar, and a lot of parents or your parents as well. So I wanted to very quickly run through some of the procedures that we have to ensure volunteers are kept safe on our programs and understand how to keep themselves safe as well. So I guess there's two ways to describe these procedures and this support we provide around safety. What we do before the trip is I guess the first one, and what we do in country. So I'll touch on those two things briefly. So firstly, all of our programs have been through a really thorough risk assessment process, and we've worked really closely with our local teams to make sure that they've identified all the local risks and they've developed plans for how to reduce those risks and to mitigate them properly. And that's really, really important, and it's something that we've spent a lot of time doing with our local teams. The risks are very, very different from country to country, so it's important that we have a specific assessment for each one. And then I guess the second thing that we do before a volunteer goes abroad is that we make sure that we're giving them lots and lots of information about how to keep themselves safe while they're abroad. So every registered volunteer gains access to our online training tools, and these are tools that we've developed specifically to arm volunteers with the right skills and the right knowledge to be able to be responsible and safe volunteers abroad. So within that, we've developed one entire module which is dedicated to safety. So it provides tips, advice, and information about how to stay safe while you're in a foreign country. And I would encourage everyone who has access to it to complete that module in particular, because it is really, really important. Again, going back to the information booklet, there is detailed safety information that is specific to your chosen program in that information booklet. So it's really, really important that that information is read and understood. But again, our team is always here to answer additional questions if you've got them. If parents have got questions as well, we're very, very happy to hear those and to answer those for you as well. So I guess just moving on to during the program, and what are some of the procedures we have during the program to ensure volunteers are kept safe. So these are things that you would expect, like having first aid kits on site and having someone on site who is a trained first responder, a trained first aid expert. Also making sure that we've got the basic things around fire extinguishers and fire alarms in all of our accommodation, and having a plan for what to do when an incident does occur. So all of those things are in place, and our local team is on hand 24/7 to provide support if something does happen. But I guess the other thing is, as well as that, our local teams are also there to provide volunteers with detailed training and information about local risks and how to avoid them. And they'll do that during the orientation session at the start of the program. And it's really, really important that volunteers listen carefully to that information during orientation, that they take it on board and they think about how they're behaving in the local environment to make sure that they're staying safe. I guess the final thing that I wanted to touch on here is just to note that all of our IVHQ program managers get out to the programs, visit them regularly, and make sure that all of our local teams have the right procedures in place. And those are the procedures that I've just touched on. So they make sure they've got them in place, but also make sure that they're applying them in the right way and that they're keeping them updated. So, this is a really, really important focus for us. It's something we spend a lot of time looking at. We know it's really important for volunteers, and we take it absolutely seriously. So those are just, I guess, some of the high-level points around how we manage safety. If you've got any further questions on that, please don't hesitate to get in touch.
And just in general, when getting ready for the trip, whether you are going to be a volunteer or whether your son and daughter are going to be travelling with IVHQ, we just suggest just doing as much research on the country as possible, taking a look at the culture, the area that you're going to be travelling to, or that your son or daughter is going to be travelling to, just to minimise that culture shock. And then you can sit down, you can talk about all the different cultures, what to expect when they arrive, and it just makes it much easier for them to settle into that new environment. The great thing is, obviously, with IVHQ is once you arrive in country, you're going to be picked up from the airport. So as a parent, that is a fantastic thing to know that when you arrive, your son and daughter is going to be picked up. There's going to be someone standing there with their name on a board, and they're going to be taken straight to either the local office or to their accommodation. And once they're at their accommodation or at the office, they're instantly going to meet other volunteers. Chances are they're actually going to get picked up from the airport with other volunteers. It happens all the time. So they're from that trip home or straight to the accommodation, they're going to be with others. They're also going to be a little bit nervous, getting used to the different cultures, to the new environment. So they're all kind of there just to support each other. And you'll find when you do volunteer abroad that all the volunteers do band together. They help each other, support each other, and it turns into a pretty good family as well. And like I say, the local team are on standby as well. If you have any concerns or anything like that, they're always there 24/7 to offer any support. And actually, speaking of the local team, we do get asked a lot how we actually choose our partners. And so you've had a little bit to do with that as well.
Yeah, I guess a good way of thinking about this is to think about the process that we follow to select the types of organisations that we place volunteers with, and it's something that's important to us. And there's a fairly comprehensive process that we'll go through when we're establishing a new partnership. And the main things that we look for are, firstly, whether that organisation is a genuine part of the community in that country. We look at what their relationships are like with other members of the community, how they're perceived in the local community. Whether they employ local people and promote, good economic outcomes for the local community, and we try and understand whether they have a good handle on what the local needs are, and how the local community operates. So that's one important thing. Another important thing is whether that organisation can very clearly articulate the purpose of the program and what it aims to achieve. So we ask them to tell us about some of the local needs and very clearly tell us how volunteers will be mobilised, I guess, to contribute to addressing those local needs. So that purpose is really important, and it shows us that they understand their community really well. That's important. The last thing I wanted to touch on here was just around a requirement that we have for our local teams to be able to meet all of our expectations around risk management, around safety, and around volunteer support. So we only want to present programs to volunteers that are of a high quality. So we've got a set of standards that are rigorous, and the final thing that we'll look for is that this local team can absolutely hit the mark and meet those standards. I guess to summarise that, it's all about finding an organisation who can host volunteers well and can place them in a safe environment where they can genuinely make a difference. That's essentially what we look for.
Awesome.
And in selecting a local team.
Now, another question we get a lot is what do volunteers get up to in their spare time? Obviously, the volunteer projects, they differ in the amount of hours that are required. Some require quite a long day, some a shorter day with a bit of planning on either side, for example, some of the teaching and kindergarten projects. So there can be a bit of spare time that the volunteers will have, but essentially the spare time, volunteering abroad in general just gives you fantastic flexibility each weekend and in your spare time just to go travel and explore the region that you're in, the country that you're in, or even just the community that your project or your accommodation is based in. Travel wise, on our website we do have travel and tour links with some fantastic options of things to do, some fantastic things to see around all those locations. But like I say, even it's not just travel far afield. For example, if you just want to go and meet different people around the community, there's that flexibility during the day to be able to do that and just to really get that get that cultural immersion that you're going to be after as well. We also, obviously, in quite a few of the countries, especially in a lot of our Spanish-speaking programs, we offer language lessons with the local team. Now, this is a fantastic way of being able to just brush up on some of the skills that you may have learnt back in school or that you're currently studying, or maybe you just got very basic knowledge. It's just a great way of being able to learn that local language just so you can communicate with the locals that much better. And we find that volunteers that do take up the option of those language lessons just get so much more out of the experience as well. So we really do recommend spending a bit of your spare time doing that, taking the lessons, and then a bit more of your spare time practicing when you're around the community and meeting, obviously if you're in a host family, just chatting with the people that you're living with there as well. And finally, we also get a question we get quite a bit is how volunteers connect before they leave, and parents as well, parents of volunteers, how they can connect and share stories and advice and things like that before they leave.
Yeah, and I think we would really encourage anyone to reach out and connect with IVHQ volunteers who have been there and done that, or parents whose children have been there and done that. We can tell you everything about it, but it's really powerful if you can hear some of those stories and some of those insights from people who have done it as well. So there are a number of different places that you can source this information. I would say the best option is Facebook. We've got a Facebook group for every IVHQ program. And anyone can access these groups and ask questions, and they'll get answered by current or previous volunteers. So there's groups for every program, aren't there? And there's also a group for parents. So we've got a specific group which is filled with questions and answers from parents of IVHQ volunteers. So if we do have parents on the webinar today, I would encourage you to head along to that group and to ask questions, pose some thoughts or comments, and see what kind of insights you can get. Yeah, and so what's the best place for people to find?
To be able to get onto the Facebook groups, the best way to do so is to literally go onto Facebook itself, up in the search bar, just start typing in International Volunteer HQ, and you're going to be given a lot of different options. So obviously we've got our main page where you can have a look at all the daily communications of our volunteers, and obviously we share moments and photos and videos from our programs. So you're more than welcome to follow what we do on there. But also you'll be presented with a lot of different group options as well, as been mentioned, for every single program, but also for parents themselves. And also we do have one main IVHQ group where it's every volunteer from every country just able to go in and just have general chat about the program, and any advice or any tips or any stories, and it's a great way just to join that community. Even if you haven't applied or registered, you're still more than welcome to join the group. It's a great way of getting a bit of an insight into the program, and so we certainly encourage you to do so. If you are having trouble finding the groups, simply just go to our website. You can either go to the Contact Us page on our website, or also you'll find now on the bottom right-hand corner of our website, you're now going to find a new question mark in a circle. Click that question mark, and if our team are available, you can actually live chat to someone and they can point you in the right direction, or you can type in a message and our team will get straight back to you with that link as well, to be able to get to the groups that you actually want. We also find that parents and also volunteers, obviously, when you're researching these programs, you're going to want to know, and you're going to want to read reviews, and we understand that you want to see reviews of the actual programs that you're going to. So the best place to go for reviews from real volunteers, firstly, we do collect reviews ourselves on our website. So head along again to our website, up along the top main bar. You can just click the reviews tab and you'll get all the details there. Otherwise, we do have a search icon on our website as well. So just click on the search icon, type in reviews, and just like that, you'll be presented with some reviews there. But also, obviously, you may want to check out some external platforms as well. So there's a lot of different review platforms out there, but the two big ones for volunteering abroad and study abroad and gap year abroad programs, goabroad.com and also gooverseas.com. So go to any of those two websites, and again, you're going to be presented with all of our programs. We have all our programs listed on those sites, and underneath all those programs, you're going to see the volunteers. They review them through these third-party sites, and you can see a real good taste as to the actual program as well. And that pretty much brings us to the end of today's webinar. As I expected, it was a little bit longer than what we thought. There's obviously a lot of information in regards to the safety and stuff. So thank you so much for coming along and providing all that information. It was really good.
No, that's fine. And as I said, if you do have further questions on that, there's a section on our website as well, which is dedicated to health and safety. So find your way there and see what you can learn. But otherwise, do reach out to us and ask your questions, either via the website, as Jordan mentioned, or through those Facebook groups, and we can, your question may be answered by another volunteer, or we can come back to you as well.
So again, thank you so much, guys. This is obviously one of our third webinar. We're going to be running these as often as we can. So please, if you have any feedback or anything like that, we'd love to hear it. Either just put it in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Otherwise, more than welcome to flick us an email. If there's a topic or anything you'd like a webinar on, if there's a certain continent or a country that you're wanting a webinar on, please let us know, and we'll certainly do our best to organise those. We'll get different members of the team to come in and to help us and provide that information as well. So again, Ben, thanks very much, and thank you so much for joining us again for another webinar. And like I say, we should see you again soon. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.